John Kosh knows the secrets behind the most famous album covers of all time.
He happened to kick his sandals off, and a 28 if was on the license plate. All this was totally unplanned.
With over 100 iconic covers on his resume, he's the most successful art director in the history of the music business.
I knew I was going to get a Grammy, and that sounds like, dreadful, but nonetheless I knew it and I got it.
And Tracy Lee Stum, she spent 15 years searching for a place to put her art.
I just thought, oh my God, this is my tribe. I found my people. I have to do this.
Stuffed in wooden bins and lined up on wire racks, wrapped in plastic and selling for just a couple of bucks a piece, sit thousands of record albums. Thin discs of vinyl, tucked inside cardboard sleeves bearing iconic images. And a man known simply as Kosh is the creator of more than 100 of the most famous ones.
I think I had 10 in the top 100 at one period, like in 1970 something or other, and it's like, this is my work. But to see your art gallery, as it were, in a record store, that's a huge thrill.
It's an incredible career that began with the most talked about, copied, and imitated album cover of all time.
My very first album was Abbey Road. I just fell into that. And there I was, doing possibly the very best album that the Beatles ever produced.
Kosh cut his teeth as a graphic designer in London, England during the late 60s.
I started out at the Royal Ballet, and the Royal Opera, oh yes, as a designer, not a dancer or a singer, I hasten to add.
He designed the programs and an arts magazine until one day the phone rang.
And all of a sudden, John Lennon's on the phone. And it's like, can you come to see me? And I'm thinking, this is someone putting me on, this is one of my friends, but you're going to end up in a pub and, drink, and it'll be fun. So I went down and I was told to show up at the Hammersmith Hospital. And asked for Mr. Winston, which was his nom de plume, whatever. And so anyway, I hit the elevator, went out, opened the door, and it was like John Lennon. Oh my God, that's how I got into it.
Kosh left the opera and joined Apple Records, which at the time was the epicenter of the British music scene.
James Taylor's there, briefly. There's Badfinger, there's Mary Hopkin, there's, the Beatles, of course. And not only the Beatles, but there's George Harrison's doing his stuff, John's doing his stuff, Ringo's doing his stuff. So we were designing for all these cats. It was fantastic.
But none of those projects ever caused as much stir as a simple photo of four men crossing the street.
It was a publicity session taken by Ian Macmillan, and all of a sudden, panic, we need an album cover. And I just happened to be, in the office. And I said, okay, give me a light box, let's work this one out,
From the moment it hit the shelves, the Abbey Road album cover created panic. Beatles fans thought the image implied Paul McCartney was dead.
He happened to kick his sandals off. Why, I don't know. And a 28 if was on the license plate, which meant he would be 28 if he lived. All this was totally unplanned. So the rumours just sprung up, but they just opened doors for me. Because, you know, became, radio shows, everyone was talking about, this, Paul is dead and whatever else. Derek Taylor, who was managing publicity, just said, don't confirm or deny, just got to mutter something like, I think it's Paul. And it just took off, But underneath it all was the best Beatles album in the world, ever. Let It Be was another album I designed, which was deliberately black. It was to contrast the White Album, because it was definitely going to be their swan song. It just so happened that they switched the release dates, and Abbey Road got in between them. So my homage to the White Album was the Black Album.
The next year, The Who released the album Who's Next? Once again, it was Kosh creating the cover.
No planning went into that whatsoever. There's definitely a serendipitous piece. What happened was the band had to stop to pee, and Ethan Russell was there, took the photograph. That's about as far as it goes. Then we get all the transparencies back, and we're poring over them, and I'm going, okay, this Roger Daltrey's doing up his fly, that's a good one, It wasn't really planned to be an album cover, but it just fit Who's Next? And that's where it all came together. So I put my little bit of typography on it. I took the sky out, which was horrible, grey, English, winter, dreadful, and put in a new sky. And I didn't do it very well if you look close. It looked like I did it with a toothbrush because I wasn't skilled in those days. The whole point was that it just happened, and when you got something. You absolutely know when it's there.
By the mid-1970s, the stars of the British music world were heading to America, and Kosh followed them.
California had always been calling me. It seemed to me that my clients were leaving. Rod Stewart was over here, everybody was moving. So I decided to come to California. I thought, okay, this is it, I'm here.
The Abbey Road cover created a firestorm of rumors as fans debated the secret meanings behind the tiniest details. Kosh's California creations continued that trend.
I always call him a good luck person. He only appeared in one shot. And I didn't want to take him out.
One man, Kosh, is the creative genius behind dozens of the most iconic rock album covers of all time. In his native England, he worked for The Who and the Beatles. In 1975, he landed in Los Angeles and never missed a beat.
If you walk in with an Abbey Road cover, you're off and running, girl.
His instant love affair with the land of palm trees and sandy beaches can be seen in his most recognizable American cover, the Eagles' Hotel California.
The Hotel California front cover is in fact the Beverly Hills Hotel on Sunset Boulevard. I was on a cherry picker with David Alexander. It felt like 60 foot over Sunset Boulevard in a rush hour as the sun's going down. David and I had the same cameras. So what he would do is he would duck down and I would put my camera on his shoulder and shoot the pictures until my film ran out. And then I would duck down. So we don't actually know who took that particular picture.
His design for that Eagles album reused an idea from his first album cover, The Beatles' Abbey Road. He deliberately left off the name of the band. It's something he's only done twice.
Yeah, the biggest bands in the world, yeah, you can't exactly do it for nobody, can you? And then there's the inside has to be shot, which is a flop house called the Lido on Wilcox, which we've gathered all our friends around. And of course we've got the Rastafarian sort of weird guy looming over the background, which I considered a good omen. No one knows who he is. I certainly don't.
Also, in that inside photo, there is a shadowy figure lurking in the doorway. That has sparked rumors that Hotel California refers to the house of Satan.
There is no devil in the window. I always call him a good luck person, but we never knew who it was. We couldn't get him to sign a release because we didn't know where he came from, because we didn't even actually see him until the prints were made. And he only appeared in one shot. I didn't want to take him out.
For the 70s sensation Electric Light Orchestra, Kosh created more than just an album cover.
I designed the ELO logo for the band. I had this affinity with jukeboxes, and my dad, who used to work for Wurlitzer, I just knew what I was doing right from the start. For the first album, that logo, we had made stickers. I had stuck one on a Frisbee, just because it looked good, and threw it to my son. And there, I suddenly thought, wait a minute, it's sailing through the air. There's a Frisbee with an ELO sticker on it. It's a spaceship. Out of the blue, this is the cover.
In terms of commercial success and recognition, Kosh's most prolific partnership is with one of his closest friends.
Linda Ronstadt, who's possibly my most favorite of all clients. I mean, the sweetest woman you could ever meet. And she trusted me completely. We just got on so fine. And we did, well, she gave me 3 Grammys, for Christ's sake, you know. Linda calls me up and says, I'm doing an album cover. I think the first album was Prisoner in Disguise. The chemistry between us was just fantastic, so that worked out. The next time, I think, was Hasten Down the Wind, and that's the beach shot, you know, where the horse is riding in the background and wherever else, and she's looking really sweet and in her negligee, and got me into a lot of trouble with the National Organisation of Women. Got over that one. And then we did Simple Dreams, and bang, that was the one where I planned every move on that shot. And that was shot in the Pantages on Hollywood Boulevard in the ladies' powder room with all those mirrors. So we had to align everything and get it right, get her dressed, the hair, makeup, the whole works. And so I'm literally sort of scribbling like crazy and adjusting things. The inside spread and the sleeves and the labels, everything matched. All the typography was like, you know, my very, very best. I knew I was going to get a Grammy. And that sounds like, you know, dreadful, but nonetheless I knew it and I got it.
Kosh is proud of his 3 Grammys, but he's careful not to take too much credit. He knows there's another element in play.
It's all about the music, give me a break. I've had a few that I've done was really proud of. Dan Fogelberg and Tim Weisberg, possibly one of my nicest covers, and simplest. Printed on the wrong side of the paper, so it's kind of like got a sort of soft edge, and in 2 colors. That's it, which I think was one of my finest pieces. It didn't sell very well.
His work is so varied, it's hard to pin down Kosh's style. The Eagles' The Long Run and REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity were both his creations, and they were released in the same year. But they look nothing alike.
My style is not to impose my style, because I'm selling, you know, 2 different products here, you know, and 2 different bands, and they shouldn't look the same because people will get confused. REO Speedwagon was a huge set, and the band were totally into it. When it came to the Eagles' Long Run, I just thought it's time, you know, in the long run, okay, come on, let's get real simple here, and sort of, you know. And, you know, but it had its tricks, because you'll notice that the outside had a UV matte seal. It's almost like velvet. And then you open it and bang, there's gloss. It's all in black and white. You're always experimenting.
The reality is, album cover art is disappearing.
It's over. Oh, yeah. Don't mince words here. I know, you know. Record album art now today is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. You know, I guess it'd soon be a tooth implant. You know, I mean,
In the last 40 years, Kosh has had a lot of fun and done a lot of work. The results are there for everyone to enjoy. On cardboard sleeves, wrapped in plastic, stuffed inside wooden bins.